Hello there. You are someone and I'm someone else. And today we're going to talk about my investing philosophy part 2. Now, we are going to make 4 videos in this series because I realized that it would take too long to make it into one video, although if I have time, I'll cram into one video, but I really just want to talk about this investing philosophy today. This is the Warren Buffett approach. If you do this, you will probably become a millionaire if you're patient. See, that's the thing. It doesn't take a high IQ to become a Warren Buffett. It doesn't take a high IQ to invest like Warren Buffett. What it takes is a incredibly, godlike amount of patience. I was trying to copy, but not trying to copy Warren Buffett. I was trying to understand his philosophy on investing, and I was so quick that I would make investments, and I would make very poor investments value wise. And so today we're gonna teach you kind of how to invest as an older person. Okay, let's say you are 55 years old. You are 55 years old. You have not invested a single dollar, and you have 50 grand in debt. And let's say that 50 grand in debt, let's say 3% of it's a mortgage, right? Okay. Not 3%. 10% of that 50 grand, which is 20%, is 10,000 in mortgage debt. Okay, you're 55 and you got 10,000 in mortgage debt. Okay, now you have 40,000 in credit card debt because you didn't go to college, and let's just say whatever, you got 40,000 in credit card debt. Now this scenario probably has happened to a few people if they really don't understand how finances work. Because credit card debt's like 22% or 21%, whatever it is. I don't care. I don't really know. But your first goal is, when it comes to value investing, if you're an older person who hasn't saved a single dollar and in fact in debt, is to pay off your highest debt first. And that would be your credit cards. After you pay off your credit cards, don't pay off your mortgage because that's a stupid thing. Just pay the minimum payment on the mortgage because you're going to make more money with the stock market. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Okay. Now your next thing is to value stocks in there's a couple different ways you can value stocks. You could do a discount cash flow method, which I really love. I'm terrible at it, by the way. I don't know very good math. I'm not good at math at all. If you can't tell, I'm not good at math, even though I love math. It's a bit weird. I have a bit of a weird relationship with math. But if you do the discount cash flow method, it's only really good for dividend stocks. But you can value a stock at 50% of what it actually is worth. So if you get a stock, let's say it's $5, but it's actually worth $10. You could do that. You could plug that in. You can get that calculation in the discount cash flow model, which is awesome. You could do future return. I forgot what that one's called. Future return predictability return. And so many people do it so stupidly that I just don't want to. I don't think people should be doing it. Swen is the only guy I would listen to when he does it. So when you see Swen's videos, because Swen is like me, he's very good at making. He makes a lot of value investing videos, and when you listen to Swen Carlin from Croatia, he has a very thick Croatian accent, by the way. I love Swen. He's got 16 years of stock market experience. The guy is just a genius. Listening to him, and he plugs in the numbers, and you just think, how did he get these numbers? Again, I'm not nearly as smart as Swen, so like when I look at the numbers, they do make sense. But I don't always understand where he got the conclusions to those numbers. And again, I'm not a value investor, so I'm not like Swen. I'm more of an index kind of guy. I'm very passive. I'll buy like dividend stocks that are overpriced. I'm not a very good value investor. Let's just say that. I'm not going to become a millionaire in 20 years like that Swen's going to be. I think Swen might actually already be a millionaire. I don't really know, but based on the knowledge that he's given me, he looks like he knows what he's talking about. Um, Again, you could do the whatever. There's a Charlie Munger approach as well. Cap 10 method. This is probably my favorite one of my favorites. Cap 10 method on valuing stocks. There's so many different ways to value stocks. At this P ratio, don't do valuations based on P ratio, by the way. Um, but I mean, this whole video was I'm basically trying to say, if you're gonna do value investing, do value it on every metric almost, except if it's like a tech company. Tech companies are so difficult to value. In fact, I don't even recommend you invest in like a company like Apple or Google unless you truly know the company. If you work for the company and you know the numbers behind it, go ahead and do it. But for people like me who don't care and don't want to invest in tech companies because they're so unpredictable, don't do it. Especially if you're older. Like this second video was supposed to be for people who are retiring, who have maybe a little bit of debt, and in fact who don't know much about finances. They need to get their situation. If they don't want to work for the rest of their life, they have to do this strategy. They have to. There's no other way. Indexing is too slow for them. So they need to have a higher return on investment. Now, the problem is if they're 65, it's already too late. So you need to start at least 10 years, 55 in order to retire. I mean, 65, yes, but you're going to need less to retire because you're already working at 65. Let's just predict that you're older and you don't have any retirement money. Let's say you're 65. You're going to retire at 75 with this strategy. I mean, it's going to take you 10 years to become financially independent with just the income that you produce with the stocks. So there is, again, if you value like Warren Buffett like really well, you could become financially independent in, let's say 10 years. It's going to be very difficult. You're going to have extreme patience, and based on your life, you haven't had so far with the debt and with the fact that you haven't done any investing. So it's like you have to change your complete mindset of the world if you're older and you have no money that you've invested. So that's the thing about this video. I'm trying to explain to you guys, or trying to explain to at least the older people, is that this is the only way you're going to become financially independent. Indexing is too slow. Now, if you're younger like me, if you're in your 20s or 30s, your chance of becoming a millionaire are, wow, you are way ahead of everybody, okay? If you're in 20s or 30s, your chance of becoming a millionaire, well, also because of inflation, you might just become a millionaire based on your salary just saving up. But if inflation doesn't get too high, you still could become a millionaire with the numbers that I plugged in on my calculator. If I had rent that was, let's say, $850 a month, right? I could save another $800 because again, I make double my rent. Uh, if I was paying off, I was paying people $850 to live, I could save another $800, put that in the market. I mean, let's just say I'm using up half that 800. So let's say I invest 400. I mean, that is double what you need to become a millionaire in your 20s, by the way. I'm not even 20 yet. I am almost 20, and I know these numbers more than anyone with the index funds anyway. I love index funds. Right now, if you invest in an index fund, you're going to get a 6% return. That's just the way it's going to work right now. I'm waiting for the Fed to release their numbers. Once the Fed releases their numbers, right, and they pump those interest rates up, the indexes are going to return 9% a year. So right now, indexes are very expensive. Index funds are very expensive for younger people. Why am I talking about index funds? I'm supposed to be talking about value investing. Anyway, if you value index funds, you'll return 6% return. If you value just normal value stocks that are undervalued, which by the way, most value stocks right now are overvalued because the market, everybody's been putting their money in the stock market. So because of inflation and everything, all the rich people, that's basically what they do. They pile in the stock market. So sometimes the stock market gets extremely overvalued, and right now it is. We've never had a stock market in history that's returned lower returns than today. Um, but I'm hoping that because the 2020s is going to be just a garbage show. But this is your time. If you're in your 60s or 50s and you're planning on retiring, and scratch that. If you're anywhere over 50, your best chance right now is to take advantage of the current economic crisis of the 2020s. I mean, you have to. Value investing, I don't know how to explain the numbers to you, but basically buy the stock at half price. Value its like, fundamentals, value its debt. Don't buy companies that are over debt, by the way. If you're in debt, you were in debt your whole life and you're buying companies that are in huge amounts of debt. I mean, depending on how they use that debt, because some companies are billions of dollars in debt. Like, look at Apple. They got millions of dollars in debt, and yet they're doing fine. So, I mean, there's a few exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, if a company's borrowing a lot of debt and they're not getting a lot of cash flow from it, that's the thing. That's the key metric right there. If they can't return cash flow to their shareholders, if they're not buying back some stock, like at least, let's say 1 or 2% of the stock, they're not repurchasing some of their stock and not returning value to their shareholders, don't buy it. But also buy it when it's undervalued, which is very difficult, by the way. Very difficult. Warren Buffett stock right now, Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway right now is at a P/E ratio of 6. I was looking it up just a week ago. I don't know what it is now. I think it's about 6, but I could be wrong. And I mean, again, if I was older, I would probably buy that stock. It's gonna double by the time I retire in 10 years. So I might. I don't know for sure based on looking at the numbers. Nobody can time the market. That's the thing. People think they can time the market. Not even Warren Buffett can time the market, right? And so timing the market is better than timing the market, basically. So the more you're in the stock market, the more, because you miss the 40 best days of your life in the stock market. Let's say you missed the 40 best stock market trading days in your lifetime, and you just own the stock market outright, like let's say you just own index funds, then your chances you won't become a millionaire. You've lost literally all your return. Because that's it. Your 40 best days of your life are basically the return you're gonna get in the stock market. That's what Warren Buffett has seen. That's what every single stock market genius has seen. And it's a lifetime of grinding. It's a lifetime of achievement. And it's money piled away. It's not a very complicated subject. It's just piling money, piling money. And it might not be fair because, there are people who work for that company who are making less than you because they own more stock than the employees of that company. So, yeah, but I mean, Warren Buffett worked hard for his money. He was able to, he didn't work as hard like physically compared to other people, but he mentally worked pretty hard to compound his money faster than everybody else. Right? And so that's the thing. You got to work hard too. Like if you're a garbage man, you have a really good salary. Garbage men make more money than most people in the United States. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you're a garbage man making 40, 60K a year, you're making, a lot more money than I am. I'm making only half of what a garbage man's making, right? My original plan actually was to become a garbage man so I could be making more money. I realized I would be, dealing with garbage and dealing with all that. But basically, if you're a garbage man and you're in your 20s, do this strategy. Not do this strategy, but do the index strategy first. And then if you really want to go into investing, if you really want to leave your job, do the value investing, right? And so that's the thing. Like, I don't know how to help people who are over 50. All I have to tell them is do value investing, research it, read The Intelligent Investor, read, what's that guy's name? One Up on Wall Street. The 13 metrics of stocks. I forgot the name. I forgot what the metrics are. Companies that deal with death. What is it? Funeral home stocks. Student loan stocks. Things that are very controversial. Buy those. Actually, don't buy student loan stocks because of the government now trying to regulate them. Cigarette stocks. Those have returned actually at an average half of what double what the stock market's returned. Think about it, cigarette stocks have returned double of what the stock market's returned. That is ridiculous, and especially with all the legal things going on with them. I mean, they are so undervalued compared to the rest of the stock market. There's legal fees and everything like that. So, like, do controversial industries. If you want to make a lot of money really fast, in my opinion, going into controversial or simple industries like frozen foods, uh, industries where the supply chain is most likely not going to break. If they have a few truckers, they'll be fine. Now, if their whole trucking force goes on strike, yes, that will change the value of the company. So you want to make sure that they have a trucking force that's strong enough to where they can supply every grocery store or you could just buy out the grocery store stocks that are cheap, right? I buy cheap grocery store stocks all the time. I've doubled my money, right? In grocery store stocks. So you need to look at industries that are boring and nobody wants them and are undervalued. That's what you want to be looking for. You want to be looking for the stocks before the analysts get to them. You want to be looking for the stocks before the hedge funds get to them, right? Mutual funds. Get the stocks before the mutual funds get to them. I mean, it's not that hard. It's not a hard thing because once the mutual funds get to them, then the stock price like doubles immediately, or like it's at least 20%. I've had that happen to me so many times. I buy a stock, right? And then the mutual fund buys it, and I'd return 20%, right? So I mean, it's a very difficult strategy though. I gotta tell you right now, my life's not easy doing this strategy. I've spent probably way too long on this, right? And so people need to really know that value investing, if you're a retiree, it's the only way. But I mean, but if you're, I don't know, anybody else, I don't recommend it. I really don't. For young people, I would stay away from it for the most part. When you're in your 30s, I would recommend it more. If you're a single guy in your 30s, I recommend it. If you're a single girl in your 30s, I recommend it. But if you have a family to feed, why would you do it? I mean, you're risking your money and pouring your money into these stocks that, can go to zero, unlike the index funds where if they go to zero, well, then you've got bigger problems. If index funds go to zero, the entire US stock market has collapsed. In fact, scratch that, probably the entire world. China, you know, the United States. China cannot sustain itself, by the way. Do not invest in Chinese stocks. They have billions of dollars in debt. But again, China cannot sustain itself. The United States cannot sustain itself. If this index goes to zero, which I hopefully it won't, uh, if we know that the US dollar doesn't mean anything, which I don't think the US dollar does, when you could print, what is it, $5 trillion of US dollars in the last 8 years, something ridiculous like that, US dollar doesn't mean anything anymore. And as soon as China and everybody else stops buying US dollars, our global supply chain will probably break down. And so that's the thing. We are building a Ponzi scheme off of buying US dollars. It's kind of crazy. So again, you got to factor in that as a value investor as well. The fact that there could be um just worry about are the truckers doing their jobs. That's what you mainly want to look for. But again, that you can't predict that because everybody has their own life. The truckers, they may not want to truck forever. You know what I mean? They're getting older. They're retiring, and so like you got to factor that in when you do value investing. It's a very complicated story of the economy and everything, and the economy and the stock market are not the same thing, obviously. Stock market's only 1/6 of the economy. It's not a big thing like everybody says it is. Right? If the stock market crashes, the economy could be great. I mean, it really could be. There were times I'm pretty certain in the 80s where the economy was awesome, but the stock market was absolutely awful, right? And so you want to have that scenario, obviously, as a retiree, because if you have a lot of money in the stock market and the stock market is down, but you would still afford to retire, you're going to be good. You're going to be good for the rest of your life. And so, especially if you did that in the 80s, but nobody retired in the 80s is probably alive today. There are only very few people alive today that retired from their 80s, in the 80s, 1980s, I'm sorry. Before the Soviet Union collapsed, by the way, um, I find the Soviet Union to be fascinating. Anyway, that's besides this point. Why am I talking about the Soviet Union? It's a stock market video. There's no stocks in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union died, by the way. If you didn't know about the Soviet Union, you should look up that. It turned into hundreds of different countries, by the way. The Soviet Union wasn't just 15 republics that collapsed. It was more like the Russian Federation turned into a conglomeration of 20 different republics. It's very strange, and I don't really understand. I'm sick, by the way. I don't know what I'm doing. But basically, you guys, you are someone and I'm someone else, and that's all we need to. That's all I need to tell you. I don't know what I'm ranting about anymore. So I'm gonna hopefully make a third and fourth series. The third video on my investing philosophy will be on how to invest in high interest rate environments, and I believe my fourth one will be something. Oh, what to do after you retire. So this one was for older people who need to go and get money. They need more return on their investment. So you need to go grind out, pay out your debts. Then you need to go and keep your mortgage. Everything else, depending on how high your mortgage rate is, obviously. If your mortgage rate's 5%, pay that stuff off. But if your mortgage rate's 3%, then you should be whatever. You should be investing at that point. So again, pay off, work for the rest of your life until you can pay off those debts. Then you gotta, don't rely on Social Security. I can't tell people on this enough. Do not rely on Social Security. I do not rely on the government. This is what the channel is about. Not relying on anybody but yourself. And if you have a family who relies on you, yes, they do need to. Then yes, you should not only rely on yourself in this economy, which is it's already unfair, it's already stacked against you. But now you have to rely. Now your family has to rely on you, and you need to do 5 times more what you're actually doing. So that's the thing. Like nothing in life is a free meal. There is no free meal in this scenario. Even with this value investing strategy, it's going to be incredibly difficult. You're going to have to grind years and years away of your life just to be able to afford your freedom. That's what they've built, a system of employees. Our college systems, our financial system is built on the backs of the working class. And you need to get out of that working class and join the elites like me. I'm not an elite, by the way. I work. I can't afford to be an elite yet. But like I don't know, to join the chameleons, to join the elite, I don't know. The best way to do that is to value invest. I mean, you don't start a hedge fund. You don't do. You could get millions of dollars in return with hedge funds. You can, but it's just not worth doing it. So again, I don't know why I'm ranting anymore. I really shouldn't be ranting. Uh, anyway, have fun if you're older. That's all I have to say. I really am. This is a marathon video. I'm gonna be making a third and fourth video in this series. I will. I've just repeated myself like 3 times. Goodbye.